So we have a pleasure of opening this session, afternoon session on digital performing arts with Juliana, Tarumoto, and Yasmin Mello. And they are coming from a UNICAMP. It's University of Campinas, and it's Brazil. And I'm really happy about Brazil because I did spend some time in Brazil and wrote 2 books about Brazilian collaborative theater. So I love, meu amo Brazil. So bom dia. They are going to talk about post-COVID digital performing arts, incorporating live in digital, phygital. And we have 15 minutes, which we can extend to 20 minutes because we have quite a lot. I think we can push a bit. Anyway, 15 to 20 minutes for 2 of you. Please start.
Hello. Hi, my name is Yasmin, and I am an independent dance artist and researcher, and I'm the co-author of this presentation today.
Hi, I'm Juliana. I'm a dance artist. I'm a postgraduate researcher at University of Campinas, Brazil, and also the co-author of this presentation. First, we'd like to ask you to mute yourself, please, and also to turn off your camera, and if possible, choose the option hide no video participants so you can have a better experience of our presentation. I remember our first meeting about echoes. It was 2019. I was living in Limerick. It was during the winter. Especially during winter, I would ask myself, what I'm doing so far away from home? So Yasmin and I talked about working together again, exploring how our body also feels like home, whatever on the planet we are. We wrote projects and we had a lot of plans for 2020. I remember that suddenly all my contracts were broken. COVID happened. In 48 hours, I decided to come back to Brazil. Yasmin decided to stay in Ireland. Even for a part, we'd get together and explore. What is my body as my home? I remember that we had suggestions to our questions. Our body would answer for the uncertain moments that we all live in. Our body would suggest. We suggested. And now I suggest that we dance with memory.
I suggest we dance with the future.
I suggest that we dance with our ancestors.
I suggest we dance. I suggest we dance with the past. I suggest we dance lullaby. I suggest we dance goodbye. My birth country, and how this still influences meu corpo casa.
De país, de cidade, de casa. De casa. Mas não de corpo. Não de corpo casa.
Today, in this short presentation, we wanted to share a little bit of our process. And the first thing I decided to show was a bit of my diaries when working with Juliana. In July 2020, Juliana and I had our first online residency, and during our research, I was mediating Juliana's movement.
Нямаш кучи да идеш по чео да ти вусам.
Pa neću da sednem, Helena.
Нямаш де bre ovde da sad.
Pa ovde mi je otišla svinja. Jeste. Pomerio se, šta?
Sorry, I don't know if that was for me, but part of our research is to understand how to work with all the limitations and difficulties and challenges of the process on a digital setting, on a digital platform. So I just embraced that moment. We were going for a full performance on mode, but I suppose this is what we have to work on. So we have a little interruption there. I'll go back to the beginning. In July 2020, Juliana and I had our first online residency. And during our research, I was mediating Juliana's movement. We were looking into how consciousness and imagery combined to sensory stimuli received from the environment could be relayed into movement. That first moment was a sort of assisted solo, where the focus was on the stimulation of one person's embodied experience. In 2021, we revisited the research in a residency at Dance Ireland in Dublin. I was in Dublin and Juliana was in her home in Brazil. There was a difference in space. I was in a studio. Juliana had her home studio. And in this next phase, we had a few different questions. For one, we were now both creating a meaningful relationship with each other and dancing together, outside the place of mover and mediator. There was a shift or a transition to better split this responsibility, which was particularly challenging for me coming out of the facilitator position. It was necessary to build trust and bridges to facilitate this emerging relationship on the digital duet. In my perception, the first point of research where we successfully made this transition was with the game I Suggest, we chose to perform today. As I understand this practice, there is a disembodied presence that influences and stimulates your decision. The meaning-making experience arises from this intention of being together apart. Another important aspect was how to build a sense of intimacy to work together in a context where the responses and actions of the physical body cannot always be understood. The personal statements we shared with each other about our feelings, emotions, and ideas, later embodied by each other, helped us understand new formats to build this relationship through mutual care, shared responsibility, and collaboration.
So this project has been going on. It started in 2019, but we had our first residence in 2020, and then the second one in 2021. So now 2022, we still have a lot of questions that still emerging from this previous experience. And one of that is how can long-term and long-distance collaborations can be sustained. Also, we realized that in this other experience, we were in different sites, but we still had a pretty much traditional way of relating to the sites. So now we are really interested as well how we can use other sides, so how our home or even outside, how do we relate it to that, but also how are we informed to that, how our movements are informed with that side. We also talk about what are the possibilities when we create remotely. So how we consider, how do we approach the public, the audience, even though it's sharing our process, or sharing our final performance, but also how do we archive and develop dance material during this process? Maybe digitally, this way that we are, but also how can we archive and share material analogically, even though we are so far apart, even though we are completely different continents.
I just like to conclude this presentation saying that echoes stemmed from an intense desire to create an artistic work together. And it's developed from our persistence on finding ways to continue to develop our collaboration when faced with the challenges of distance and limitations brought by the COVID-19 pandemic. This research is now our own investigation of how time plays a part in a creative process that is continually evolving and developing with its artists. And it's our intention to investigate ideas of archive, memory, and interactivity through the creation of a website in its next phase. Thank you for watching us. That's the end of our presentation.
Absolutely brilliant. Perfect timing. That's just what we need. Very exciting. We have to move quickly on. We're going to have questions in the end. Just one question for Julia and Yasmin. Where are you located?
Okay, so right now I'm in Piracicaba, Brazil. It's São Paulo state.
And I'm living in Dublin for the past 6 years. Yeah. Oh.
Jesus, so it's Dublin and Sao Paulo state.
Yeah.
Wow, that's far apart. Okay, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
We are now moving to Daniel Blanco and Roxanne Korda, who are PhD researchers at the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire, and they both happen to be my PhD students and very accomplished and are with a high scholarship of M4C for their quality of work. So their topic is, you gotta do this for me, definitely. Autohoodening, filmed operatic custom in response to digital consumerism during COVID-19. And please, Danny and Roxanne.
Hello, I'm just going to share my screen. So here we go.
I'm going to need just to put this down.
Oh wait, sorry, I need to do that again because I didn't click to share sound. Sorry. Oh, wait, no, I'm doing this really badly. I should have just let Danny do this. There we go. Okay.
Let Danny do it.
I think I've done it now.
Yeah, now it's fine.
Yeah.
So, are we ready to start? Is it showing the performance? Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good. Autohoodening film operatic custom in response to digital consumers. Okay, perfect. So, we are Daniel Blanco and Roxanne Korda, as kindly introduced by Sasha. So we run Infinite Opera as artistic directors, and we are also doctoral researchers at the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire. Autohoodening, The Rise of Captain Swing, is a theatrical operatic piece created during two of the peaks of the pandemic as a collaboration between Infinite Opera and Postworks Theatre. Initially conceived as a protest performance, it eventually evolved to become a film. It merges elements of folk theatre, masquerades, protest, opera, and cinema. We will now be able to see a scanner called Alexis singing operatically about its concerns for the recent rise of a phantom from the past, workers' consciousness, represented by the character of Captain Swing.
Oh no! Oh no! Swing has risen. What next? 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 Swing has risen. Those associates are starting to strengthen and organize. My dominant control is fading before my eyes. They must not bring swing back to life to help out all the exploitation of employment laws. No longer can we flout all the exploitation of employment laws. No longer can we flout.
Always goosebumps in that section. Now we move on with Roxanne for a while.
Great. So the general objectives of the piece were oh no, that's just my computer whirring. Okay, yeah. The general objectives of the piece were initially to find a way to bring this ancient English custom of hoodening up to date and we wanted to merge it with the themes and like issues around people that are working in Amazon factories today. And specifically the themes that are in Hoodiening that we wanted to bring into that are themes of embittered workers, death and resurrection, and workers' demands. And this was then initially planned to be used as a protest performance to mark Black Friday, which is the day in November where you can buy everything really cheaply online, especially in the context of a pandemic where online shopping had become very important. We were also bringing a new character into this phase of the project, which was Captain Swing, who was the fictional leader of the English swing riots in 1830s, which were an agricultural workers' uprising, and they used the name of Captain Swing to sign letters that they sent to the farmers against the use of the threshing machines, which were threatening their jobs as labourers. And this has a lot of parallels to what's now happening in factories with the use of AI, which is controlling the way that workers are monitored and the types of jobs that they're doing. So yeah, just a little bit on Hoodiening itself, just to give you a little bit of context. So Hoodiening were these short plays that were toured around houses, festivities and pubs in the 4 days leading up to Christmas. As I said before, the key themes were always death and resurrection. It always involved drinking beer and collecting money for charity. It originates in East Kent in the UK. There are lots of ancient traditions around the UK and probably in other countries which are similar to this and have this idea of a horse in them. As you can see, there's a horse's skull with a hood there, hence the name Hoodiening. For example, in the 5th century, St. Augustine had condemned the filthy practice of dressing up like a horse or a stag. So we can see that it is an ancient thing to be doing. And yeah, but Hoodiening really was from the 19th century, from the ploughing teams that went around the houses. Yeah, they had some stock characters in there, some of which we've brought into ours. The horse is always generally kind of exhausted. It's like under a lot of labor. There's also the wagoner that has the top hat. There you can see someone with the top hat. Molly, a soft-hearted woman in her prime. We have a Molly, which is one of the robots as well. Sam, the lazy, mean and smelly farm laborer. No one's really lazy in our piece, but there's often a boy who's quite young and reckless, and then plenty of musicians, as we also have in ours. Okay. So what's next? Oh yeah. Oh, sorry, I should have gone to this slide. And as you can see, and they always include elements of protest, people complaining about the conditions of their work. Okay, so that is why we wanted to also bring in the issues around Amazon, the Amazon complaints. So a lot of the workers in Amazon that have been complaining for a very long time, and it's been a growing issue in the news. You may have seen recently there was a union formed, which was quite a big deal in Staten Island because they've been pushing for unions for a really long time. These are the kinds of complaints that the workers have. This constant monitoring, they watch your activity constantly. Every second you're under pressure. I do not drink water because I don't have time to go to the toilet because they're being monitored. Their tasks are being monitored and timed. The targets to reach these timed tasks are so high, to meet them you have to damage your body, aka not go to the toilet when you need to, or other things. They don't care if we fall sick. Amazon thinks we are expendable. So and it's very easy to get fired if you don't meet a certain amount of targets. You will just get fired. Yeah. So here we can see this is an Amazon complaint that we have transformed into music. This is, we are not treated as humans. We are not even treated as robots. We are treated as part of the data system. And this song, Danny's probably going to talk about later.
Well, I can just briefly say, like, this is one of the traditional songs from some Hoodiening plays, but it's been like retransformed with all these complaints.
Yes, thanks, Danny. So moving quickly on, the initial cycle of this process, we created a trailer for the film that you just saw a clip from, and we created this trailer on Zoom. We're just going to show you a little clip of that trailer now with the song.
So feedback hands, my heart aches. Scores of sad people on every break. Stressful, not helpful, hard work. So feedback.
Great. So going to move on to the development of the libretto. So the initial plan for this work had been to create the script collaboratively through a series of improvisation and devising workshops. However, unfortunately, the onset of COVID meant that we weren't able to go through with these workshops in person. But we were still keen to keep the collaborative process, the writing process, as collaborative possible. So we began doing a lot of work on Zoom instead, especially as hoodooning is a community-based art form anyway. So yeah, my first involvement with the whole project began in December 2019, where I attended just a day of workshops with students at Goldsmiths, where post-workers theatre work, where we started developing some character outlines and some like small bits of text, which meant that going into then the process combined with the team of Infinite Opera and post-workers theatre, I was already like prepped with resources to begin this work. However, this time around, we were going to add in this character, Captain Swing, as well. So our first exploration was, as a group, was we discussed all of the characters like, with the performers and me and Danny and the three guys from Postworkers Theatre. And we really tried to get under the skin of what it, like through the complaints, reading the complaints, what it meant to be someone working at Amazon and how that could relate to all the different characters that we were going to bring into the piece. We really wanted to understand the psychology behind each character. So we just did this through a series of discussions, really. And then after that, we decided on the casting and got everybody to write their own introductions as their characters. One of the tropes of hoodooning is that every character introduces themselves. They say, "In come I," and then give themselves a little introduction. And then from there, we started working on the script. So you can see this is a kind of screenshot of like the outline of the script. So there are a few, like the main key themes that we wanted to involve in the script were the death and resurrection, and this thing that happens in Amazon of the warning system where you get 2 warnings and then you're fired. So we decided to structure the script in 3 acts around the warning system. So you'll see there's the first punishment in the first act, the second punishment in the second act, and then the third punishment in the third act. So yeah, so that this gives like a strong sense of development to all of the characters that we're moving through this series of punishments. So for example, the Molly, who is the character that is a machine where people in Amazon fulfillment centers will go and pick items out of it, then package up. That Molly, the actions of that character is what triggers all the warnings. Then the picker, which is the character that went to get the item out of the Molly and then got hurt, starts receiving these warnings because they've been hurt and they can't meet their targets anymore. Captain Swing's strength increases as the amount of warnings increases. The line manager has to deliver all of these warnings, but is being controlled by Alexis, the scanner, who is almost like an embodiment of the algorithm that is managing the whole system. So in the end, the picker, so all of these characters also have a death and resurrection. The picker and the line manager both get fired during the piece and then come back to fight the corporate machine. Captain Swing is killed by Molly, but then brought back to life by the power of the complaints of the workers. Molly and Alexis are both switched off or even kind of destroyed by the workers and then reprogrammed to return in a more empathetic manner where their algorithms are no longer driven by profit, but actually start to prioritize the rights of the human workforce. I'm just going to show you a little clip here of one of those death and resurrection moments.
Termination, productivity violation, failure to consistently meet productivity rate. Time to is
Disposable labor. That's all workers are to you. My poor family, what will I do? A replaceable resource, used up and thrown away. Now it's time to have our say.
Yeah, so moving forward from that, the other thing that we really wanted to emphasize here, as I just mentioned, was the lack of empathy that is built into these systems, which has been built into working systems and has led to the need for unionization throughout history. And one of the ways that we decided to do that was to create a love story between these inanimate corporate machines to show that they, there is potential for empathy within these systems, as there are humans working behind them. However, perhaps it's just not been used in the right way. And one good piece of feedback that I received about this was that several people who work on the other side, not the blue collar work, the white collar work within the corporate systems, they actually felt quite a lot of connection with the journey of the scanner, who starts out just maximizing profit and ends up being reprogrammed to maximize empathy. I'm just going to show you another clip now showing the death and resurrection of the Molly.
I will release this bug of care. Grit and drove it. It will snare.
Sick, expendable, damaged body. Damaged body. Sick, expendable. I recommend extra breaks and higher wages.
Stop! Stop! You don't mean these things you say!
You are entitled to employment rights in your basket.
I'll try reboot.
Great. So so once we had decided on the final version of that plot and we took it back to Post Workers Theatre, we started writing the script, and we wrote it communally, as I said before. And as you will have seen from a lot of those clips, like, we employed the use of rhyming couplets a lot, because that is a traditional thing of hoodooning, that it's all done in rhyming couplets. And we also, as you might see in later clips, made use of Morris dancing in the choreography, which is a traditional English folk dance. However, as we found out that we weren't going to be able to perform this live, the whole project turned into a film rather than a protest performance. Yet we still really wanted to maintain a lot of the qualities of the theatre and the performance within the film, as that was really what this project was meant to be. So we didn't adapt the libretto for film, we left it, but we decided to make use of cinematography in different ways, because we now had this opportunity to do that. So there are some key moments that we kept the same as theatre, like to be viewed as you would view theatre. Specifically, those moments were related to protests. So if there were any moments when the characters were talking directly about protesting, that would still be done as a kind of stock line up to camera, kind of protesting. So it looked really strong. But the more intricate emotional details, we were able to then bring the camera into the stage and see closer up and see different angles on the performers. And then we also decided to use some shots of CCTV to depict this constant surveillance that is happening to the people working in Amazon factories. So I'm just going to show you one more clip now, which has some like different angles, and then ends with a final protest pose.
They think they can simply replace us. Voices will be heard, will be heard.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to hand over to Danny now to discuss the music.
Yeah, I think we are just running short of time, so I'm
And
gonna.
Danny will discuss the music in about 45 seconds.
Oh my gosh, I took up the whole
That's gonna
Because
be
all this time, Roxanne was inspired to tell us about this lovely libretto, which was really lovely. But then, we heard the music. So when you hear
Good.
the music,
So-
you're going to explain the music.
Let's just do it quickly. Originally, the score was conceived to structure the live performance of the piece by using different protest songs, and at its core still does that. However, the approach to the creation of the music and its final role changed by the impact of the pandemic. So, the whole score is based on a simple, naive, repetitive, monotonous, relentless, and rather uncreative motif that you've been hearing, like a so that's really, really uncreative. But anyway, any similarity with the working conditions at the factory we represent in the piece is kind of deliberate with that motive. In fact, that motive has been borrowed from one of the hundreds of corporate videos babbling about the goodness of working for an almighty multinational corporation. All of this is related to this idea of the musique de mouvement of furniture music, a topic discussed by John Cage, but just stated by Eric Satie in 1917 already. And also all of this use of the music in that sense is related to the work of Frederick Jameson about the relation between art and neoliberal capitalism in his works. So this music with this upbeat positive nature due to the indiscriminate repetitive use of C major supports that corporate video. So I used that element into the piece just to create a relentless score, changing the poetics of the meaning of that corporate video music and maybe trying just to become a hell of a score out of that if that resumes all the music in 45 seconds.
Oh, my lovely students.
I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Someone should have told me that I was speaking for way too long.
I'm on another conference.
Sorry.
So give me 1 second just to finish this. Stay where you are. Okay, guys. Is everything okay?
Yeah. Maybe next year I will discuss about the music.
But you can continue, Danny, if you want 2 or 3 minutes. It's fine. I mean, it's just that the next person, I guess we could just push a couple of minutes.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. So just maybe we can hear a little bit.
You feel like you need a few more minutes, Danny, to finish. Okay, yes. Finish, Danny. It's okay. Just a couple of minutes, and then hopefully it'll be okay with Daniel, and then he will continue because we just eat into the other people.
Yeah, we also started like a few minutes late.
But
yeah,
if you feel like you need to conclude it, Danny. Don't leave it hanging. It's okay.
Good. I just wanted to state like the material, the creation of the music has been also impacted by the pandemic. So we had just to use the technique of layering as a way just to be able to devise and create the music over Zoom. So the strategy composing the music was to create these blocks of material that they could be working for several minutes non-stop, as they can be seen in this course. They're like blocks of material that they just go over. So basically the harmonic material, it doesn't really matter if it's unsynchronized or synchronized, because it's going to work nicely harmonically or unharmonically within the piece. So then we could have like a singing happening over Zoom, even if there's like a problems of delays. So we can maybe hear the example of the layering, which is, I think, 30, 40 seconds, so we'll cut it. So can we just play the music a little bit? I think that should be enough. So yeah, all that music material is based on that simple, naive music material that I described before, which is related to all this corporate like hell nightmare that they're like living these workers. So all of that is adapted from the Zoom technique, and this can be seen in many different examples. I think it's quite clear from all the different examples we've heard from Roxanne's part of the talk. So you can hear those blocks of material that they just keep repeating and overlaying each other. And they're like developing over the piece as a mantra, or more or less, we could just describe it as the voice of discontent of the workers. And just to conclude the whole presentation, just also including music and the drama. So Autohoodening is a piece of art that is still alive. We do not think that the process is finished. We intend to create a live version of this work that could be performed by different people, focusing on the once very popular union theatre groups, with the intention to help revive this tradition. This will allow us to collaborate more closely with the unions and make the piece more adaptable. Also, as practitioners, this has been like a great and valuable experience for us to engage with the topic. And the research accompanying the creative process, we are sure like it will have a long effect in our work and also in future collaborations. And also, just to end, the film has also enabled us to gain a wider audience due to the relevance of the topic globally. This piece, we realized, engages very well with the fine arts audience, but also with the general audience, aware of or even unaware of these issues. After watching the film, the audience tend to be more critical with their daily choices and with the philosophy of the one-click consumerism, acknowledging what's the reality behind something as quick, simple, and impulsive as that little gesture of buying that quickly. And that's it. Sorry for just having to rush on my bit of the presentation, but there we go. Some references, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, this was fantastic. Thank you very much, Danny, for wrapping this up. Thank you, Daniel Moore, for being this considerate. So at this point, I would like to introduce our next panelist, Daniel Moore. Daniel is a musician, doctoral candidate in Polymedia Arts, University of Arts, Belgrade, and he's going to talk about MuseDala, a practice project by Daniel Moore. Please.
Thank you, Aleksandar. Thank you, everyone, for having me today. So, yeah, already presented me, so I can talk about my latest project, because it's called MuseDala. It's derived from the word muse, music, mandala, and also in Serbian, dala means giving, and it's I see it as a inspiration giving device. So let's jump in. Yeah, is there everybody hears me? Everything's okay? Okay. So the background for these projects come from two sources for me. One is I have been practicing improvisation with dancers in the last at least 10 years. And it's something for me that I'm very curious about. And also together here in Belgrade with one dancer, we try to make kind of meeting up and allowing people to experience that kind of improvisation. And the other point that I want to refer to is my own music improvisation workshop, which I have been doing for the last 3 years actually, and now I'm on a break. And the idea of that workshop is basically to enable and to create community music improvisation. Just gonna mute somebody who's here. Some noise. Okay. So, and part of that conclusion of that process, I realized that I would like to use some visual aid, I call it, in order for me to make the experience of the workshop more accessible and more inclusive. So the inspiration for these projects comes from mandalas, and mandalas are a very powerful symbol. And first of all, we can see it all over in nature. Mandalas are circular forms that beginning from their center. You can see it in ice, you can see it in wood, in flowers and plants. And of course, we find the use of mandalas in almost every culture. In particular, for me, it was interesting, the Buddhist culture, where they use this type of mandalas both as a meditation object. They also create sand mandalas as meditative practice and ritual. But more than that, it's a carrier of information, of stories, and every little thing on this mandala actually symbolize a value, a virtue, or a different kind of characters that is supposed to help the person reach enlightenment, person who is practicing and studying this. The next point I found out is when I started actually working on this, my friend who also helped me with some of the programming, he had this book called the Red Book, and it's actually a journal by the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, where he actually documented. It's a diary he documented and with drawings and words from 1915 to 1930, and he started practicing on himself drawing mandalas. And the interesting thing for my work is the next passage, which I would like to read to you. So he describes the pictures. The pictures, the mandalas, represent a kind of ideogram of unconscious contents. I have naturally used this method on myself too, and can affirm that one can paint very complicated pictures without having the least idea of their real meaning. While painting them, the picture seems to develop out of itself and often in opposition to one's conscious intentions. It is interesting to observe how the execution of the picture frequently thwarts one's expectations in the most surprising way. So basically, what I saw the opportunity to use the mandala both as a dancer, as a movement that inspires my improvisation, but at the same time, I am thinking of myself as I am painting this mandala. And I want to first show you, before I explain how it works, I want to show you a little clip from a live performance. I'm gonna share it again just to make sure I share it with sound. Okay. Okay, so that was. So now I would like to a bit explain how it works, and I'm gonna play this without the sound. So the mandala is basically made out of a picture. In this case, those are pictures that I drew through a VR program, but it could actually be any kind of picture. And the first app takes it's called Mandala 360. It takes the picture and it creates different kind of kaleidoscope effects in order to break that picture into a mandala, as you can see. So basically what I did for this kind of prototype, I took an audio processing and connected to those took the values from the audio processing and put them into the parameters of this mandala, which are designed to be moved manually in order to get the desired shape. And the result is that the mandala is actually driven by my sound, but not in a one-on-one kind of relationship. It doesn't react exactly to what I'm doing, but it's rather dancing. That's how I like to look at that. It's dancing, and you don't see the video. Okay. Okay, I will share again. Someone okay, so do you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so
everything is okay. I saw everything. Okay,
great. Okay, so maybe somebody has a technical problem. So yeah, so let's. I want to. So I'm back after trying this out. I was obviously very interested to try it also with dancers to see how that can affect them. And I had actually one experiment. I have a. Okay, this is done. Okay, we skip a bit this intro. Okay, better to keep the microphones on mute. Who can? So here I actually took the concept of mandala in three ways, both in the music. In the music, I tried to create layers that are coming from one note, using a synthesizer and creating different kind of layers, kind of a musical mandala. Of course, the visual mandala was projected, and the dancer got a suggestion to think about mandala in their movement. The thing with the dancers actually, even though it for me, it felt very nice. After I interviewed them, and they actually told me that it's not so easy to look at the mandala. So this leads me to two further developments that I'm planning now. The first one is I would like to take this concept and create more sophisticated and 4-channel visualization that will react to my playing and would help me in the course of the workshop to help people improvise, but with a visual score that will give them a few hints about different things that they can do. Of course, I'm also planning to have a certain set of rules to make it somehow like a game. The other thing I'm planning to do further is to use that game visualization and combine it with dancers. And I'm also looking into possibilities to incorporate motion sensors for the to allow the dancers also to influence the visualization. So that's all I have for today. I want to thank you very much. I think I'm also good with the time, maybe earlier because I planned only 10 minutes actually. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was good. Thank you so much for keeping this coherent and compact. And now we're moving on. We will have some time in the session that proceeds at the end, so it's fine. So now we have Ivana Vujic, who is a theater director, professor at the Faculty of Dramatic Arts, Belgrade, and head of the Laboratory of Performing Arts at the Faculty of Dramatic Arts. So it's sort of a co-partner in that way as our Center for Interdisciplinary Performative Arts. And Ivana, we're going to talk about streaming theater performance as a space for expanding the audience and establishing new forms of communication. Please, Ivana.
Sorry, Aleksandar, you didn't saw my message. Ivana is not feeling well, so she will pass this this session.
Oh,
she got the vaccine today.
I didn't see any message because Ivana was there until 10 minutes ago.
But she has a vertigo, and she told me that she will pass, so you can use the time.
Well, listen, I can talk to you about the communication with the audience. I love talking about communication with the audience, but I'm not. Okay, so amazing. So we will give all this time to Dan Horrigan. I hope Dan Horrigan is there because he was. You are there.
I'm here.
Dan. So look at this. We lost one participant.
Yeah.
So you're now given.
Yeah. What I'll do is I can just slow down the pace at which I read, and take my time and just think it through a little bit more. And I've got some video work to share, which hopefully will be interesting.
I mean, you can also dance and sing and recite something, and I'm sure you can fill this 50 minutes with something.
I will give it a go. I will give it a go. It's really good. It's really good to be here with you all on this day sharing ideas.
No, don't worry about the time. You stick to your time, to your planned things. It will just that we're going to do the discussion a bit earlier, and then we'll have some break, which we didn't have for coffee and for whatever before we have a keynote. So I think that's fine. Although we do miss Ivana, unfortunately, but I hope she will get better and everything will be okay. I still see her here, but I guess she's not here. Okay, so I will introduce now Dan Horrigan. Dan is a PhD researcher at the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire. He works also with the Center of Interdisciplinary Performative Arts. Dan started his PhD recently and he is a very accomplished and like really accomplished practitioner, both writer and a director, both for film and theater, both award-winning and working in some serious venues. So Dan will be talking about Jesus. Dan, I have to read this. Deleuze and performance making through the concept of digital schizoanalysis. Okay, how do you say that?
Well, I say schizoanalysis.
Schizoanalysis. And Deleuze, that's this French guy, yeah?
Yeah, he's a philosopher.
Okay. Anyway, this is going to be a really good presentation. This is coming out of Dan's PhD work, and Dan is also my PhD student.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan, you can start, please.
Thank you. It's really good to be here with you on this day, sharing ideas. Excuse me. Sharing ideas about the digital, and I want to thank you for asking me to be here. It's such a pleasure. I'm going to talk here about my craft in directing and writing and how my encounter with Deleuze has changed the way I think about them so far and how that will impact my work in the digital. My background, as Sasha says, is as a director for stage and screen and writer, and it's shaped particularly over the pandemic by my work with Mike Alfred's from Shared Experience, with a particular focus on his book Different Every Night. And I'm going to try and put together some ideas from Different Every Night with some ideas from Deleuze to talk about how I might be able to synthesize those in the digital. And as a writer, I'm influenced by my studies with Nina Steiger from the National Theatre and Anna Mashawan from the Royal Court. And I was trained by Professor Dundjerovic at Royal Holloway. As I look to drama usually presented in a theatre and think about adapting it for digital distribution, I've asked myself if this migration to a new medium requires a new approach of me. How can I shake up my practice, and in what ways could this lead me to develop work for the digisphere? To do this, I must be clear on my core principles. What ontology do I have, if I have one at all? Of value to me is the pursuit of the authentic, and I'm talking about these people, actors and audience, going through this experience, the drama, at this time, for the first time, each time, and they are changed, they are moved, they are not the same by the end of the journey. I'll focus now on one part of that, for the first time, each time, and it's here I want to introduce the concepts of Deleuze I'll talk briefly about today. They are difference, becoming, and the rhizome. Taken together, they have the influence, if you let them work on you, to transform the way you think about making theatre. How much of what we experience in the theatre is limited to a narrow view of what difference is, a representation of difference from the same? Last night's performance is resurrected. It's not the same through and through, but it's only different from the same. What is theatre and drama when we're only representing the world again? How much agency do we have to present a world for the first time each time? And how can we make sure the world of the work is different every time? In short, how can an actor embody Deleuze's concept of difference and becoming? It's here the work of Mike Alfred is important. One of the first things I learned from Mike is that we are currently living in a world that clings to nationalism, that is divided, confused, threatened. And that's down in many ways to living in a world of identity, which is static and fixed. That's the world we're allowed to have. It's a world that is represented to us daily via the government and the media that selects what reality we may consume. A carefully selected world where we are being offered the same thing, and intrinsic difference is obscured and even feared. Another important aspect that Mike exemplifies in his work is that actors move each other. They move each other through time. They embrace change from one moment to the next. Mike believes the actor must transform, and to do this, they become a character. The insistence on character fulfills for me the Deleuzian concept of becoming, which he calls a pure movement evident in changes between particular states or events, rather. A character, I would say, is not an identity per se and should never be fixed. And we could say that an actor's work is a becoming in time. Actors in Mike's work are continually producing difference across physical events that change relationships between them. The actors are the embodiment of change, and rather than working towards an endpoint or thinking of them at an interim between the start and end of the play, it makes sense to consider them as embodying the dynamics of change throughout a duration of time. After all, they can only play one moment and the next and the next. They are, in many ways, heterogeneous substances in different phases, people under pressure in changing circumstances. Their identities are not fixed. They must change. What we see in this type of work is the liveness of a human being transforming themselves. They are producing the experience of the drama, and in Mike's work, they do this differently each time within the events and circumstances of the play. Their work is immanent. We can experience what they are going through, and it is human and understandable. And so to produce the best work for an audience in the digital sphere, I must ask how much of this mutability and difference migrate across to a new medium. How much of it can come with me as my work is encountered through a screen, stereo speakers, and other devices? I'm not going to talk about the hardware here, although it's crucial. I'm going to talk about the making of the work with a primary focus on actors as the agents of a collaborative production with an audience. That's to say, the audience are the most important thing. They are the reason we make the work, and they are constantly seeking new ways to engage with it. In creating and participating in performance, one is never quite able to be seduced by the aura of a work. You cannot pass the work from the human being experiencing it, living it, and moving it through time. In The Separation, a digital theatre piece from Fraser Watson, which I wrote and produced, the actress Natalia Campbell-Smith is very present throughout the film, and she transforms through several personas. However, she and the eyes and ears of the audience are deterritorialized through the work of the camera and re-territorialized at the end of the film. The objective and voyeuristic cinematography yields to the presence of a fully embodied character who has made their decision about life. It's a film about trauma and being trapped. It is claustrophobic. And since completion, I've realized it shows us what it means to live in a world without Deleuze, one that defaults back onto unchanging authoritarian answers. For example, life for you is like this and can only be this way. You will always be brought back to an impasse that you cannot change. Her story is being related, moving between the subjective and the objective, but we cannot escape her lips just the way she cannot escape her own trauma. And do we desire this trauma? Or will we experience her desire to produce a new reality beyond the tightly controlled authority of an insoluble psychoanalytic edict? I'm just going to share a montage of the film here with you now. If I can get the access. Let's see.
So just click on share screen.
Yeah, I'm just going to open it.
You will see probably your YouTube or wherever you open, click on that and that's it.
Yeah, okay, bear with me. The share. Hold on, I think I need to go to Zoom. Oh, here we go. Sorry, bear with me.
It's okay.
Oh, that seems to have done it. Let's see. Let's try that.
So you click on share screen, everything that you have on your screen will open in front of you. You just click on the thing that you want us to see. That's it.
Yeah, I've got an issue with security and privacy on this computer.
Ah.
Bear with me. All right. Share sound.
There is another option that we had to go to because of problems we had. You could post a link.
Yeah, I'll do that.
And also because we have around 10 people following us on YouTube, you will need to post that for them.
So what I'll do is I'll copy this link now. Can I drop it into the chat? Yeah, I'll do that.
And then if you can just show, I guess, I'll copy that and put it into YouTube so people can click on YouTube and see it.
There you go. That's the montage for the separation, which is what I'm talking about right now.
So you cannot share it, no?
Unfortunately not. I've got a security issue on this computer, which is not allowing me to do that.
Okay, I'm putting now the link, sort of copy and paste to people who are watching on YouTube. We have a number of people watching on YouTube, so I can tell them, so because there's a bit of a lag here, just explain. Yeah.
Okay. So what we're doing, if I talk about what it is that you're watching, it's a montage extract from The Separation, which is a film, and we put this together in a particular way to essentially open up some space for the audience to think their own thoughts. So you'll notice that there's no dialogue, there's no narrative.
Okay. So let us all watch now individually. Yeah, how long is this?
It's 1 minute.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna click, everybody, let's click, and we can just watch in our own time. Yeah. And then we can come back to you.
Great.
Okay, I think everybody has seen this now. I've seen it. So
Great.
you can continue.
Great. I hope you got a chance to see that. The full version of the film is available online. And if you'd like a copy, please let me know and I'll send it to you. One of the reasons we chose that montage to share today is because some of the tactics from Deleuze that I'm considering in digital work includes looking at decoupling action from time, environment from narrative, protagonist from identification. We might begin to produce the kind of spaces within the work that have a metaphorical or lyrical value and requires an audience, this is crucial for me, to complete it. I'm concerned here with the idea of an audience perceiving without being tethered to action, an audience that produces its own perceptions and is fully cognizant of this. This is especially important where thought might not have been possible or permitted. And one of the ways to do this is in rejecting inducing a passive state in the audience and instead present them with work that is not tied to a cause and effect style of editing where action matches time. Perhaps the true work of an artist lies not in telling us what the soul is, but in giving us the space in which to encounter it. Any movement that we can generate that produces this encounter is putting us into contact with Deleuze's idea of the real difference. Deleuze asks artists to make connections, new connections that emerge from the unconscious which is constantly producing new materials. In the separation, the camera can take on inhuman viewpoints that allow us to access our unconscious and produce new meanings. But to do this effectively, the narrative must break from authoritarian solutions. For the film to be about becoming different, we must imagine ways of breaking free of the narratives that are foisted on us as the only ways in which we are allowed to exist. For that reason, it cannot be an easy film to watch, it cannot be a standardized experience, and it cannot be made better by the products of capitalism. Its subjectivity resists this process, I hope, and I consider that an important tactic to take forward into the digital work I create. Because why do we want an audience that will tolerate anything? Deleuze, a philosopher of difference, is clearly motivated by addressing the intolerable, which as consumers of culture, we are often asked to passively accept because culture often acts as a means to keep society pliant to interests other than its own. In this respect, a film that is edited so that an audience will tolerate anything, if it is bound to action, is not a film that makes thought possible. If you also take the view that we are not in control of our own minds, we often don't know why we feel the way we feel or do the things we do, then you're creating work that pacifies an audience and upholds the status quo. After all, if we don't know why we're moved, somebody else will come along and tell us. Rather than serve up to an audience that, to take one example, psychoanalysis assumes does not understand why it is aroused, repulsed, or any other feeling, we could look at asking an audience to discern exactly why it is moved, and we could hope that it would be different for each of them, and that in turn this would help them produce desires that leak into the social field, as opposed to being held in, for example, the psychoanalytic family triad, an unchanging insuperable law that denies us the intrinsic difference we can connect to. And desire as a flow in the social field is important to Deleuze as it leads to a healthier society, robustly critical of authoritative control, one that flows with new connections and produces better freedoms. An artist concerned with this would use Deleuze to create work that puts an audience on terms with its own desire to produce and to answer back to those repressive societal laws that prevent this. In this way, I think it's important that artists making digital work consider aiming for what's called a mutual becoming. There should be a sharing of the vision for those making the work and those encountering it, a collaborative transformation where the visionary aspects of the work are synthesized and not prescriptive and unchanging. An artist concerned with a Deleuzian approach to creating work would not want to arrive at any determined endpoint or totalizing answer. Their message would not be arboreal or point to a finished and resolute conclusion. Rather, the work would point towards the near infinite ways in which we could connect in a world of intrinsic difference. It's here that an artist might consider working with Deleuze's concept of the rhizome. It allows an artist to work in different speeds and intensities of life and to open to new possibilities. The rhizome is non-hierarchical, connects at any point to any point, and where one connection ends, it can be found already working at another. It's a tactic one can use to drive ideas of multiplicity in the work, and it eschews singularity. It's non-linear. It tells us where some things move at different speeds, perhaps progressing and perhaps perishing, and at other points there are always flows of desire. In this short poem I'm about to play for you, voiced by Lachlan O'Grady and scored by Don Buffar, I'm attempting to use aspects of the rhizome to create a work that will allow you to make connections of your own. And I'm going to post that now into the chat.
And then Sasha will post it in YouTube. But it's not in the chat.
Oh, hold on. It should be there now. Is it not there now? It should be there.
Post it in the chat. It's not.
Is it there now?
I have the first one. I don't have the second one.
So bear with me. Let's try that again. Here we go. Have you got it now? Is it there?
No. Anybody else? Do you see any of that? I don't see any. Hello, have you fallen asleep?
Oh, it's a direct message. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Here we go. It's because Daniel Moore kindly contacted me.
Ah, so Daniel is the only one who got it. Okay, it's there now. I'm going to post it now on YouTube. posting it on a YouTube in a very analog way. So again, YouTube, going to YouTube, is a paste, and we go now. So this is a second link. Come on, we haven't lost any audience from YouTube. This is incredible. Okay, I'm going back to watch this now. Everybody watch it, please, and then I guess that will be the end. You can close it after that. Everybody watching? Yep, it finished for me.
Great. Okay. So in conclusion, I hope there were spaces there for you to make your own connections. I want to bring this back to Mike Alfreds to conclude. Mike is very careful to cultivate continuous exploration in his actors. A production fulfills its run and is never finished, and new connections and possibilities are encouraged. New speeds and intensities manifest between both performer and audience. Mike's stripped back aesthetic, especially in the early days, allows the audience to imagine their own environments for the action, even as the actors embody the story before them. And years later, he writes, he is accosted by people who remember the production in their own way. So in this respect, there is both an imminent production and a virtual production in flow at the same time. This seems to be a real gift from the artist to the audience, and one way of making work that seems worthy in consideration as we enter the digisphere. We could consider how the relationship between the work and the audience is one of mutual becoming, mutual difference, and that Deleuze, whose mission is to help us break the chains of a willing servitude to authority, has equipped us with a range of tactics to imagine this possibility and make it real. And that's it from me. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Amazing. Can you kill the music? Dan. Music. Loud music.
It's not me. It can't be me. I don't think it's me. Oh, hold on.
Switch off your mic. Just switch off the mic. Try it.
Yeah, hold on.
No, it's still there. It's beautiful music, but yeah.
No, it can't be me, Sasha.
I don't know who it is, but it's a beautiful moment.
Oh, I wish I could hear it.
Oh no. Okay, do you all hear it, or am I just imagining this? Hello?
I can't hear it.
Oh, that was me. All right. Okay, I think this finishes at this moment this section, so we can move to a panel discussion. Dan, you are actually going for 50 minutes, which is absolutely incredible. Well done. And I apologize for the music because it was after the video that I was watching on YouTube. It came some video which was kind of like some yoga retreat on some beach. The music was really nice. Anyway, can I please have you on the camera, everybody? Come on, let's go. Did anybody hear that yoga music? No, it was just me.
Just you.
Oh my God, totally yoga music with some beach and waves. And relaxed music. You know? Hello, Svetlana. Thank you for joining us.
Hello to everybody.
Okie dokie. So, do we have anybody else? All the presenters are here. I think actually we need to go to another Zoom link because it allows YouTube people to join us. So, because we had people with us all this time, so they can ask questions. Otherwise, it's just kind of very incest-driven situation. So now, do we know where the link is? Do you have that link where the group Zoom is? Please send that, so we can try to go there. Excellent. Danny, you're amazing. Look at Danny Moore. Okay, I'm clicking on that and we'll go there and let's see. So let's leave this and go to the other one.